All right, so this time we're going to do something called a progressive walk cycle. And this is where instead of the character walking in place, the character is going to walk forward. So this is a really good skill to have, and I think it's different than just doing a walk cycle in place. Although it's a good stepping up skill, you need to know how to do a walk cycle in place before you can do a progressive walk cycle. And so um, the thing, so here's our walk cycle in place. We're going to have the dude walk forward. So there's a couple of things to think about. You could just take this guy and you can animate him and move him forward. A lot of people will do that. They'll also put like a little block underneath the character to make sure that the foot is staying in place. However, if you're animating something and he's walking around and he's doing something, you're not gonna just bring in a bunch of walk cycles and he may walk in one place, he walks over here, he turns around, he goes over here. Some people I've also seen will animate the base of it and move it forward, but that has a high possibility of having the character swim. So he's swimming, and it's not a good look. It's a very amateurish thing to do. Other things where I've seen some settings where you can animate or you can rotate the whole thing, like the base, so that it's moving around, but it's all very stilted and it doesn't look very natural. So I think a really good talent to have is to be able to understand how a walk cycle works and just animate it from the front to the end. Animate him where he wants to go, and what you want him to do. Chances are you're not going to have like a huge, like a lot of walking, so it's going to be really, really annoying. But if you get really good at it, it's going to be a breeze. You're not even going to notice it. Um, so yeah, so that's what we're going to do. The main thing to also consider is what we need to consider is our steps. So you got to remember what the contact step looks like. You have to remember what down looks like, what passing looks like, and what up looks like. And then also when you're animating it, you can animate it in your typical fashion of just like 3 frames for each step. So after you're done with it and you want to change it, it's really important to look at it and think of timing. Does it look right? Is it too fast? Is it too slow? And then just stretch and squash and move some of those steps so it looks better. The one thing that can be tough is if you're doing something that's not straightforward, like if you're doing something where it's going in a circle or something like that, you have to look around in the perspective view and make sure that the feet are going in the right place. But if you get really good at this, making the character walk around is going to be super easy. Another huge thing that I also want to really talk about, and I'm going to do a little bit of this, is a little bit of body mechanics and introducing, even though I've talked about it before, but reintroducing how the pose and hold kind of thing works. So if you have a character and he's moving up and he's saying something, or say it's like his arm, you can reach it to a destination. You can see in my little window there. You can put it to a destination, and then move it to the next destination. So the pose to pose. However, there is a pose, hold, and pose. So if I'm moving my hand up like this, and I want to keep it here, everything else, you hold it there and you key it there, but make sure that when you want it to release, you key it in the same spot. So it goes to the spot, you key it, it holds, and then it goes. Otherwise, everything is just going to look a little bit like Tai Chi, where everything is like constantly in motion, if you've ever done that. Which is neat to look at, but it's also very amateurish in animation. Another thing too is if you're holding something, say when you get into really fine stuff and you're adjusting things and making a little fine tuning. When you put a character into a hold, a lot of times that hold can just go like this. But say you can see my hand moving. If I'm saying like, oh, like I, saying something really fantastic, I think, and my hand is held out here, it's going to look a little bit weird for the hands to be completely still. You might have them like move just a little bit and then, kind of come up, but they're still kind of held. It's like thinking about an idle animation that you've seen in games where, something at least that isn't too terribly tacky, just like the idle animation, like they look like they're about to pass out or something like that. Yeah, those are always really silly. People can get very dramatic with idle animations. All right, so our character is going to start with the contact pose. We're going to animate him a few steps, and then we're going to have him stop, put his feet together, look to one side, look to the other side, and look forward. And since we're using the ultimate walker, we also have the bounce, so that's also going to be something fun to do. And so yeah, that's what we're going to do. Let me pause it here for a sec. So this is essentially what we're going to have him do. Although I start on the passing pose, we can start on the contact pose. He's going to walk forward, he's going to stop, he's going to look to one side, look to the other side, and look forward. So if you look at this a little carefully, you can see the nice bounce is giving it a little bit of movement. And what's really fun about this is that he has a real character to him. It has a lot of humor to it. When he's moving to one side, and you can see when he's that there's a lot of pausing also. So when I first animated this, I brought him over here, and he immediately went into turning to one side, and it was too fast. So I went and I adjusted it so that I could adjust the timing to give it a little bit more of a comedic feel to it. And you'll also notice what's fun is that when he moves his head, it bounces and it gives a little bit of life. So I could have him just like stand there and just look to one side and to the other side, and it would be very static and it wouldn't have a whole lot of character. So you have to engage kind of your feelings and say like, is this funny? And if you're not going for funny and you're going for something dramatic, say, is it dramatic? And be ready to adjust it. And I'll show also another little trick about adjusting, stretching, and moving the keyframes inside of the time slider. It's super easy to do. So let's new at this scene, and let's create a reference. Alright, here's our dude. Alright, so we're going to still stick with the usual 1, 4, 7, 10, 13. So I'm going to bring this down so I can look at each one. And then we're just going to keep going along with it. So let's see. Shall we do it on the side? We could do it on the side. We don't necessarily have to do it on the side. I'll do it just for... just because that's what we've been doing so far. So let's get him in his contact pose, using the foot roll. Using the foot roll as much as possible, because it really helps. The other thing that's great about this is that this really shows you about momentum as well. And you have to keep in mind, like, which frame am I at? And we'll move this back, and we're going to do the foot roll for this. And we're going to do the foot brake. Bring him down a little bit more there, and I'm going to rotate him a little bit to this side. Also, you're going to have to, you'll find, like with the run cycle, that you had to key the look to, the knee look tos. So we're good with that. I'm going to key the knee aim locators rather, and key all those guys together. So there's the start of our guy, and that's our contact. We're going to do our down. Now instead of doing the down where we're moving the foot back, no, we're not. We wouldn't do that. We're going to just keep going forward. So there's no real copying like we had done in the walk cycle, because here we are making it progressive. It's called a progressive walk cycle, if I hadn't mentioned that before. And I'm going to move the foot brake. And so the important thing, or the lesson in this also, is making sure you don't swim. So there should be no swimming of the feet at all. And we have the feet. I'm going to key all these guys. So I'm keying the aim locators, I'm keying the feet, and I'm keying the middle control shape. How does he look? See that? He's going forward, and that toe stays in the same place, and the heel stays in the same place. So that's like a regular walk cycle, like a real boy. And then instead of moving this guy back, we're going to keep moving him forward, but we're going to go to 7. So we did the down, now we're going to do the passing, and we move him forward because we're doing that momentum. And I'm going to move that over there. So when you know how to do it, it's super fast. There we are. We're on 7. And let's key this guy also. Let me bring it just forward a little bit. So there's our passing. Now we're going to go to 10 for our up. And again, we're not going to move it around. And the up has the heel off of the floor, and it's still moving forward. So we give it a foot roll, we give it a foot brake, we raise him to his highest, we don't lock the knee. I'm going to zero out the foot roll. And I'm going to give it a little foot roll here, because I kind of like seeing the foot forward instead of this like the foot down. I kind of like having a little bit forward. Gives it a little bit of character. Move these guys forward a little. This one, this one, this one. Key that. So now we have our up. And then let's go to 13. And let's do our down. And so this is the reverse one on down. And this guy goes down a little bit. This guy goes to the floor. So remember, you can zero it out in order to get it onto the floor. And in order to make that back foot look a little different from the up pose, I'm going to do a little bit more of a foot brake. All right, select these guys, this one, this one, this one. See how quick this is going together? So now we have him walking. And then now we're going to go to our down pose again. Zero out the foot roll. Move him forward, move him down, and zero out the foot brake. Move the foot roll a little bit forward. And let's rotate this guy off to the other side. We may have to fix that later, because I don't think that I moved it on the contact. Although you also notice that when we do the motion where his foot goes down, as soon as you put a foot down, you don't necessarily go like that as soon as the foot goes down. You kind of put the foot down and then the body follows with it. That adds a lot of character. And you can do that just by moving left or right the middle control shape. Key that again. And so that's our down pose. Now we're going to go to our passing pose. So you kind of have to have a bit of a good memory to do this. And let's bring that up. Key these guys. Now we'll go to our up pose. And the one on the floor, we'll do a foot roll, a foot brake. We'll raise him up. We'll zero out the foot roll on the other foot. Move it forward. Oh, we have to move those aim locators. Select the aim locators, the middle control shape, the foot roll, the feet, and key that. Move it forward just a little bit. That's weird. Let's save it. And that is our up. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't have any keys anywhere. Let's look at our graph editor. One problem about having a 5K monitor is all the resolution is all very different. We're just going to move him forward. So now this is, so 22 was our up. Now we're going to do our down. Zero out the foot roll. Zero out the Y. going to increase, I'm going to hide this so we have a little bit more room. We're going to increase the foot roll, increase the foot brake, and key all those guys. So our next one is going to have him stand up. So this one, I'm going to key it in the middle of standing. It's going to be like a passing pose. And then he stands. This way I get a nice arc with his leg, his left leg. And then I'm just going to do another 3 because we can change the timing later. And then I'm going to 0 this guy out, bring it down, 0 that out, and then rotate this a little bit normally. Have him look a little forward. Maybe stand up a little different. So I'm holding down Shift and Control in order to make sure all these guys are selected. And then I'm going to key that. So let's see how that little thing works. Whoop. There we go. So if we look at our little dude, there we go. All right. So that's our progressive walk cycle, looking pretty good. There's some things that we can do to change it. We can make the feet flap. We can make them go, left and right, all that jazz. But I'm going to now just start adding in some of the looking to the left, and we'll talk about timing. So just to guess, I'm going to give it 10 frames, and so we have 10 frames. Now remember what I was talking about holding. So if I went here and I keyed that and I went to 41 and I had him looking to the right, he would go progressively from 31 to 41 looking over there. So we want him to hold in this pose for a little bit. So we can go here, select all of our keys that we made, copy these. We'll maybe we'll have them start moving around 38. Then we paste that in. And now on 41, and I want him to look kind of quickly, I'm going to select our middle control shape. I'm going to move him down a little bit. And you can't really see where the front of him is, but you can figure out where he's looking because his legs are turning. So he's looking to one side. And so I have the middle control shape, those guys, and I'm going to key that. And then we want to hold on to this pose. So all these guys selected, we're going to copy it, and we're going to hold it for, say, over to 48. And I paste. And I pause this to see what the dogs are barking at. All right, I'm back. All right, so we left off with the guy looking to the side. And oftentimes, if you don't remember where you are, just go around and scrub and find out how things look. So he comes up, and he stops, he turns to one side. Now I want to make that a little bit more of a turn. So I'm going to turn him a little bit more. And I may make him look a little bit down. Also notice how he's leaning back a little bit. So in real life, if this were a thing, it would be unbalanced. So we want to make sure that the character is balanced and that it looks believable that he would be looking somewhere. So now that I've moved that, I also want to make sure that this hold on 48 is also the same. So I have to key it first, and I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to go to 48 where it's different, and I'm going to paste it in. Then I want this to hold a little bit, so I copy this guy, and I'm going to hold it for another, I'm going to go over here to 54. It's going to be short, but it's for an example. So he moves, he holds. Wait, no, I didn't want to do that. An example of making an error in judgment. So I'm going to undo that. So he goes over here, he holds. Now I'm going to move him back. And so I'll let's see, what should we do here? Move him around. And rotate him this way so he's looking a little bit more up. I may have him like kind of look a little bit more off to the side like that. Let's make sure that he's good and balanced. Move him back a little bit and key that. And now I want to have this hold, so I copy that, hold it for 3, paste it in, and now I'm going to have him go back and look straight forward. So I move him a little bit to the side, move him forward, have him look a little straighter. And I could just zero all this stuff out if I wanted to, but I want him to have just a little bit of kind of character to him. So I'm just going to keep it at a little bit of an offset angle. And then I copy that, and of course if it's at the end, it's not really much of a hold, but we'll just put it in there anyways. So if we look back here, let's see what he looks like. So he's going forward, looks to one side, looks to the other side, looks back. So obviously like super fast, especially when he goes back. And I didn't do a hold. So I want him to hold here. You notice how he goes from 48, goes to the other side, and then I'd want him to hold, but he goes immediately back. So 54, I'm going to copy that one, and I'll paste it in 58. But then obviously he goes back really quickly. So this is a very good example of how to adjust the timing. So one thing you can do for timing is you can work either in like the graph editor, or you can work in the timeline. The timeline is a lot quicker, and sometimes it's easier. You can see a lot more on the screen. Sometimes I've noticed that the graph editor won't select all of the pieces, and one of them gets left behind, which is weird. I have to investigate why that is. But so I just do a quick, I want to do a quick adjustment, and I want to make this turn back to the beginning a lot longer. So I hold down Shift and I go to 66. So with this one, I can stretch it if I hold on to this, which I don't want to do. Let's go back. Or I can move it by clicking on one of these guys. I can click it to the left, or I can click it to the right. And I want to move it out here. So I clicked on this and I moved it, and it moves both of those guys that I have selected. So we're going to make it a lot longer. Let's see what he looks like now. So now he goes over here, he holds, and he comes back slowly. However, this is still pretty short. So you have to really remember what these guys are, because they're not going to tell you. They're little secrets. So let's go back here. Let's watch him walk. Doom to doom to doom to doom. So the ending is kind of nice. Sometimes you have to look at it a bunch of times. So I want him, when he stands there and he's doing that hold, I want that to last a lot longer. So I'll hold down Shift and I'll go all the way to the end. Where's the last one? There it is. And then I'll click on this right little arrow over here. I'll move it out over here. Timing is everything also in comedy. And so when he turns to the right side, that's too short. So he turns to the right. We can make that move a little bit slower. And the movement when he goes to the right, I want him to hold on to the right position a lot longer. So I'm going to select those guys. I'm going to move that out. Let's watch him go. One side, other side. There. Okay, but now it goes one side too fast. So 66 to 105. Extend that hold a little bit longer. There we go. All right, so I kind of like that timing a little bit. Now, another neat thing that you can do is you can do a play blast, which will, depending on what screen you have going on, it will make a very short video that's not like a fully rendered video like I showed at the beginning. So if I right click on the timeline, I can see play blast at the bottom. If I click on the options, I get this little guy. So it shows me what kind of a video it's going to make. Since I have a pretty speedy video card, I can not do any padding. I can keep the scale 1:1. It's going to save it to a file. So if I wanted to save it and put it somewhere else as a temporary example, it'll do that. Display size window. So I'm going to do play blast. Oh, yeah, there we go. And so now it opened it up in another window, and I'll show you what it did. Super fast. Go back here. Doom, 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 doom. One side, the other side, and everything's okay. So also I notice by looking at this that at the end, I want him to kind of stand up and be like, all right, that's over with. Looks to one side, comes back. And let's copy that. Actually, we can cut it to give it a little bit of a hold. Paste. And now we'll have him kind of slowly go up to his last position. All right, and then I key that. Let's see how that looks. One side, on the other side. And goes back up. Actually, might be too short. I could also do this and just move it, too long rather, move it in. All right, so we have the basic timing down. There's a couple other little things we could do. We could adjust the walk, make it look a little bit more how we want it to look. We can move the legs in. Let's move the legs in a little bit. So if we go over here, move the, oop, wrong one, that's a knee. Let's move the legs in. Let's move those legs in. Let's give it a little bit of a leg. I think the leg twist is the one that we want. Nope, we don't want that. There we go. We'll give them a little bit of where the heels are cheating out. All right, that's good. Let's key that, and let's key the other one. Now, when we go to the, let's go to the graph editor now, because we could just key both of those guys over and over again. We don't want to do that. We want to have that that heel twist be the same throughout. So with the left leg, you notice I just keyed this one over here. Let's go over here and get rid of all these guys, because now when I get rid of that, when he goes forward, we're going to have that same twist throughout the whole thing. It should be. But it's not. Maybe we could copy that. Let's see if the right one is doing it. Yeah, it's keeping it going. Okay. So we didn't get rid of the other leg, which is the heel twist, and you can see that there's a whole bunch over there. You want that heel twist to be the same going throughout. There. So now he has the legs that are a little cheated out, which I actually didn't do in the other video. But his legs do go in, so if we look at, they do lose that that translate X or translate Z. Goes back. We start out at whoa! So we don't want to get rid of that. So what we could do is we could just key all of those guys. So we want the translate Z. Oh no, it's translate X. That's why. Aha! See, there we go. So we want to make sure that it stays at this point. So I'm going to delete that, and this way it'll keep it in the middle. And here you can see that his leg is a little bit on the inside. Now, in situations where he's not going straight forward, this will also change and maybe somewhat different, in which case you're going to want to make sure that you key the legs exactly how you want them when you go through the animation. There we go. So we can see there his legs are together. That looks really cute. Let's save this. All right, other things we can do. I could make the feet flap, but this is going on like 39 minutes. So the one thing that I want to do, just to finish this off, is just do some bouncing. That'll add a little bit of character to it. And again, we're going to have to do this throughout the whole thing, so we're just animating it straightforward. So we're going to, he's coming down on this one, so he will have just come from an up pose. So we'll want to make it a little bit higher, because it's coming from an up one, because if you're going down like that, you would presume that it would be, the top would be moving slower and following. Let's look in a little bit at this. We're going here, down, it's going up. Also, if you key things off of the regular kind of frame, it gives it a nice feel to it. So like if I'm not just necessarily doing it on there. Oh, that was the other thing we're going to do. We're going to do a lean. So I'm going to key that guy. Let's also just look at one. And he's going to the up pose. So we're going to squish that guy down. Now he's coming down. Now he's starting to go up. Now we can also just slide this guy so we can see each keyframe. Let's go back a little bit, see how we're doing. Give him a little bit of a bounce. Okay, let's see how that looks. Oop, all the way back. That's okay. Needs a little bit more bounce. Alright, so that should be good enough. Now he moves to the right. Now if he's going down like this, we're going to, remember we're going to key this before we do it, because we want this to be held. So I key it where it's held, and then when he goes down like that, he's going to stretch a little bit. And when he's holding, we're going to do a little bit of a jiggle. And then he's going to move. Now where he's turning, I want to change this so that he's looking up a little bit. Give him some little bit of a defiant kind of character to him. But since I've changed that, I'm also going to have to change the hold here on 98. goes back. And there won't be much of a bounce with this because it's so slowly moving. And then he moves up. So our full thing, if we do the time slider, our full video looks at that it goes to about 165. You could say 170. Okay, so I don't like how that looks. It looks very artificial. So it comes along. We'll copy this one because there's barely any change there. Oh, and we want it to hold. Actually, let's cut that one because it's the same. Goes down too much. Goes down way too much. So we keyed it at 0. We'll copy that one. And we'll put it back over here. Way too high. I just want it to be really subtle. Too much subtlety can make it look boring and bland. And then we're going to keep that paused. And we're going to flip that a little. Right, these guys. You can also select them and delete them as well if you do that. So still a little too, I like this first one. I don't like that one too much. Let's try that. Copy and hold that one. All right, that's good enough. Although a little too high. Bouncing stops too quickly. All right. So with that, that's pretty good. The last thing that I want to do is I want to have him lean in on these in these steps. Still not totally happy with the bouncing. But it's okay. So we have him here. Let's look at just the center. Let's really have him lean in there. Now notice he goes way back too fast. Alright, so I was having him lean. I'm going to look at the graph editor and see what we have here with his leaning. So this is on the center and it's the Y. So look at this. Is it the Y? Is it really? No, it isn't. It's X. So you notice that in this leaning that it's not really nicely oscillating. We want it to look a little bit more like that. So what you can do to make it oscillate or just move a little bit less stepwise and make it a little easier is if we make these lines nice and smooth. So I just got rid of some keys in order to make it a little bit nicer and smoother. So if I go from here and watch it, there it goes. All right. That bounce is just irking me. Let me move that in a little bit. Too much. I'm just going to get rid of these guys. Delete that one. Delete that one. All right, so good enough. All right, so that is our little guy on a progressive walk forward. I hope this has been helpful and not too terribly long, and then I showed things a little bit clearly. But there he is, he's walking. So it is important to be discerning about what you see, and if things are not working, or if they're working. I still don't like the way that he bounces, but overall this is a progressive walk forward. And the main thing that we're really focused on here is getting the timing and the feet down. It's not about learning how to bounce a ball, but that's it, and hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.